There is a door in your memory that closed. You did not want it to close. You may have pushed against it, prayed against the closing, wept at the threshold of it for longer than you've told anyone. And eventually, the closing became permanent, and you walked away carrying it, the way you carry something that never quite healed. I am not here tonight to tell you the wound was not real. It was real. Whatever was on the other side of that door, a man, a relationship, a future you had already started picturing, your heart had grown around the image of it. And when the image went away, something inside you went with it. The grief was not exaggerated. The years it took to recover were not weakness. They were the weight of something true being lost. But hear me clearly. When God closed that door, He was not just removing something from your past. He was doing 5 specific things with His own hands, deliberate movements, active work happening at the exact same moment you were watching the closing. He was not absent. He was not indifferent. He was not slow. He was at that very moment looking forward into a future you could not yet see and beginning to prepare you for it. The word in the title matters, because, not in spite of the closing, because of what is being built. And hear this clearly, because is not a calendar promise. It is not a timeline. It is a theology about how God operates. He closes doors with His face turned toward your future, but He does not always tell you how soon that future arrives. Trust the theology. Hold the timing loosely. Tonight, I want to walk you through what He was doing while your tears were falling. 5 things already done on your behalf while you could not see any of it. Look at Naomi. The book of Ruth is named after her daughter-in-law, but the ark belongs to Naomi. She is the woman whose door closed. Years before the story opens, she left Bethlehem with her husband and 2 sons during a famine. They moved to Moab. They built a life. Her sons married. She had daughters-in-law, a household, a future. And then her husband died, and then both sons died. And the door that had been the structure of her entire adult life closed. She was an older woman in a foreign country, with nothing she had built still standing. Listen to how she names it in Ruth chapter 1, verse 20. Do not call me Naomi, which means pleasant. Call me Mara, which means bitter, for the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. I went out full, and the Lord has brought me home again empty. She is reading her closed door as God's judgment, as abandonment, as bitterness from heaven, and from inside her grief, this is exactly what it looks like. But the reader knows something Naomi does not know. The reader knows that on the other end of her return to Bethlehem, there is a man named Boaz, already there, already waiting, without knowing he is waiting. And Naomi cannot see him from where she is standing. She can only see the closing. This is the woman I want you to know tonight. Because what God did with Naomi behind her tears, while she named herself bitter, is what He has been doing with you behind your tears. The first thing God did when He closed that door, He was emptying your hands so they could be ready to receive. Naomi uses one word for what happened to her: empty. I went out full. He brought me home empty. And she reads the emptiness as judgment. Think of what happens before any new house gets built. The ground has to be cleared. Old trees come down. Stones get hauled out. Dead vegetation is pulled up by the roots. To someone watching from a distance, it looks like destruction. Something that was there is now gone, and the ground sits empty, exposed, almost wounded. But the one clearing the ground knows exactly what he is doing. The clearing is not the end. it is the beginning. This is what was happening to your hands. You cannot receive what is coming with hands still full of what is going. A woman whose hands are still holding the picture she painted of the wrong future cannot receive the right one. The emptying was not punishment. The emptying was preparation. The season after the closing, where life felt thin, where your purpose felt unclear, where your arms felt useless, that was the clearing. God was removing what could not come with you, so your hands would be ready for what is being brought to you. Naomi walked into Bethlehem with empty hands and did not know that those same hands would soon hold a grandson who would carry the messianic line. She just knew she was empty. The fullness was already coming. She could not see it. Empty hands are not forgotten hands. They are hands being readied, because God does not waste what He clears. The second thing God did, He was positioning you on the cleared ground, exactly where the right man can find you. Stay with me here, because this is the heart of everything. I want you to picture a wheat field at harvest time in ancient Bethlehem. The sun is up. The workers are bent over the rows, cutting, gathering, calling to each other across the field. The owner of the field is walking among them, a wealthy man, unmarried, established. His name is Boaz. He is greeting his workers. He has no idea that something significant is about to happen on his land today. He is just a man at work on an ordinary morning in his own field. And then, at the far edge of the field, a young woman appears, a foreigner, dressed in clothes that mark her as Moabite. She is gleaning behind the workers, taking what is left. She does not know whose field this is. She just needed to glean somewhere, and this is where her steps brought her. Look at Ruth, chapter 2, verse 3. She happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz. Stop on that phrase. She happened to come. In the Hebrew, this is one of the most weighted phrases in the entire Old Testament. The narrator is winking. On the surface, it sounds like coincidence, but nothing about this was coincidental. God had been moving Boaz, Naomi, and Ruth quietly, faithfully, with millimeter precision toward the exact field, on the exact day, at the exact moment when the meeting could happen. Beloved, hear this and let it land somewhere deeper than your mind. The man God is bringing into your life is already alive. He is somewhere on this earth right now. He is in a city. He is in his own season of preparation. He has his own closed doors, his own clearings, his own movements forward. And God is moving both of you toward the same field. The world may call it coincidence. Heaven calls it positioning. The closing of your door was part of that positioning. The job that did not work out, the city you had to leave, the friendships that shifted. Each one was a hand on your shoulder, turning you, angling you toward the field where the meeting will happen. What felt like loss was alignment. What felt like delay was direction. The cleared ground you are standing on is not random ground. It is the ground where the new house is rising. The third thing God did, He was stopping you from settling for less than you were promised. There is a part of Naomi's story most teaching skips. When she is on the road from Moab to Bethlehem, she stops. She turns to her 2 daughters-in-law, and she tells them, with as much gentleness as her grief allows to go back, return to Moab, find new husbands there. She does not believe Bethlehem holds anything for them. She is, in this moment, trying to facilitate their settling. Orpah listens. She turns. She walks back to Moab, and there is a piece of Naomi that understands the retreat. Because settling is easier than walking into the unknown. Ruth refuses. Where you go, I will go. She stays on the road into the uncertainty toward the field where Boaz is waiting. Beloved, your closed door was God's hand preventing your own retreat. You would have stayed. If the door had not closed, you would have built a life inside the wrong future, not because you were foolish, but because you are human, and because you had already invested love, and because love makes us willing to settle for almost anything that resembles what we wanted. This was not weakness. This was love trying to honor what you had already invested. And the right person in the wrong season is still the wrong person. God's hand on your closed door was God refusing to let you walk back into Moab. He was clearing the ground of the lesser house you were about to build. The saving was grace, even when it did not feel like grace. And hear this carefully. For some of you, the door that closed was a relationship that was harming you, that was unsafe, that was breaking something in you that should not have been breaking. Beloved, the closing of that kind of door is mercy in itself, regardless of what comes next. Your safety was the reason. Anything God builds beyond that is gift, not condition. The grace was the closing.